Hello there. Let's talk today about the Hik Connect issue when you see the error 0x1007. Okay, networks disconnect. So basically, your camera is working on the local network and it's not working with the Hik Connect. Again, an error like this. Okay, let's see the solution here for this problem. There are different things that can happen on your network. So let's check one by one. So the first thing that you can check is that the camera is connected. As you can see here, I have a Hikvision camera connected to a switch. It's a PoE switch which powers the camera via PoE using this cable. And then I have the switch also connected to my computer, connected to other devices here, and finally connected to my router. So the camera can communicate with the internet and have access to the Hik Connect server, right? You need to check that. So let me just come here to my web browser where I can see the camera. So as you can see, it's live, it's working here on my web browser. Let me just move my hand in front of the camera. So as you can see, first thing that I have to check, that's working locally. It's good here. And then when I come here into configuration and I come to advanced settings and to platform access, I check here the status, it's offline. So I see that the camera is not working right now with the Hik Connect. It's offline here. Sometimes I get the error 0x1007 as well. All right. So usually this happens when you have problem with the IP on the camera. So let me check first which IP I'm using right here with the camera. Here I'm using 192.168.0.21. Okay. Then if I come here with this CMD command, I can ping the camera. I was pinging the camera before. Okay. So basically, let me just stop the command here. Just clear the screen and issue the command again. So it's basically ping 192.168.0.21, which is the camera's IP, minus T to keep pinging. So that way I'm sending a ping from the computer to the camera, right? So it reaches the camera, comes back, I see that's working, it's responding. So that's a way you can check if your camera is connecting with your computer, right? Your computer is pinging it, the camera. Then you can come here to your camera and just disconnect the cable. Okay, when I disconnect the cable, you see here in the screen that the camera it's not reachable anymore from the computer. It's not pinging, but you need to wait for a while. Okay, because I'm checking here if there is no other device in the network. You see there is another device in the network. It's responding right now. So as you can see, the camera is no longer connected, but I still can have a response there. So basically, this is another device using the same IP. So I have a conflict of IP here on my camera. So that's a problem, right? So let me just connect my camera back. Now, usually what you have to do is change the IP of the camera. And sometimes you can't just load the screen, the camera's web browser, because there's a conflict of IP. If you can't do that, if you can't load the screen here, let me just check here in the live view, for example, when the camera boots up, I'm supposed to see here, okay? The camera is still booting up, but you can also come to your SADP software. And from here, you can refresh the screen and see when the camera comes up. It's not up yet. I think it's booting up there. Here we go. Now it came up with the same IP address, 021, but we know that we have a conflict with this IP, so you're gonna change it. What you can do here is just select here, and you can change it here, okay? But the problem right now is that you don't know which IP you can use. So here in your network, for example, you have other devices connected. For example, this cable is connecting to a different device on the network. This cable is connected to the router, and in the router, there another device is connected to. So the camera is going to conflict with them if I don't know which IP to use. So what you can do here is basically enable DHCP. So the router is going to give an IP to the camera. And the router knows which IP is free there. So you can do that. Let me just come here and type my password. And then I can modify. So parameter modification completed. Now the camera is going to get a new IP, okay? Let me just refresh here. Now I got 0225. Okay. Let me just come back here to my ping. So you see it stopped pinging, but we'll continue in a while to ping again, because remember the camera has used to have this IP 021. Then when I stopped the camera by just disconnecting the cable, the device was still responding, which means there's another device here in the network using this IP, right? Probably it's going to respond a little bit later. You see it's responding again. So basically it's a conflict of IP. The other device that has this IP can also have a problem there because there's a conflict of IP. Both devices are going to have a problem. So now the router gave my camera an IP address, and the other device can work freely there. Let me just stop here. And now I'm going to ping the camera itself, which I know has a different IP, okay? 225 in this case. So I'm pinging the camera right now. Okay, and let me just disconnect the cable again. You need to stop pinging there. And if there is no other device in the network using it, it's not going to come pinging again. We stay that like without pinging forever, right? I will leave here like that for a while. Then you can come back here later just to check that there is no extra ping. So we are sure there is no conflict on the network, right? Because this is supposed to be only the camera's IP now. Another thing that you can do to check IP conflict is go to your router. Here, for example, I have my router. And here on attach the devices, I can check the IP for any device. So if I come here and look for the 010.1, I see that's being used for this LG smart oven, right? So that's why the previous IP was not good for this camera, because it's being used for the LG oven there. Okay, so your router knows who is using which IP in the network. So now we don't use this IP anymore for the camera. Use a new one, right? Let me just come back here and check if it's not responding anymore. You see, it's not responding for a long time, which means the router gave an IP that no other device using the network, and that's good. Let me just connect the cable again. And after 30 to 40 seconds, I'm supposed to see this pinging coming back to life. And I also see here when I refresh it, I was supposed to see the camera back here. Remember that the SADP tool is a free tool from Hikvision, and you can download from the website, and it finds the camera in the network, right? With it, doesn't matter which IP the camera is using or which IP you have in your computer. You can at first find the camera here, and then later you can change the IP address or use the DHCP, right? But what the software does is just come here to the network and ask for every single device connected to the port here, broadcast to every single port. Okay, it broadcasts if there's any Hikvision camera, any VR or DVR, it responds back, and we can see here on the screen, just like we see here right now. Okay, the camera is back. You see, I just refresh here, and here is the IP, and back here we have the pinging working. So now it's working, responding on the camera. We are good to go. So just learn how to ping the camera, how to use the SADP software. If you work with network cameras, it's a good exercise, right? And now I come here in the web browser and I change the IP address, because now it's 225. A different one. Oops, I just made a mistake here. Let me just type the IP again. 225. Here we go. Then I can log into the camera. Let me just insert my password here. And now the camera will load without problem, because there is no conflict anymore. And here we go. The camera is working there. I will come here to the configuration menu and check here on the advanced settings, the platform. Now it's online. Okay, so now it's working. The error is gone, because now I have an IP for the camera, and then the camera is working with the correct IP. So it was a conflict of IP there, right? So other things that could be the problem. Let me just check here, for example, the network in the basic settings. If you're using a different configuration here, let's say instead of using DHCP, you're using static IP. Let's say now you can use this one, because you know that one works, so you can statically assign to the camera. But let's say the default gateway is not available here. Okay, that happens. You can't leave it like that. You see, when I save it here, it accepts. I can reboot the unit. So the unit is going down and it's going to come up with this IP address, with the static IP address now, but without the default gateway. If you don't have this information, the default gateway, your camera will not be able to reach the internet, so you have a problem, right? So let's just wait for the camera to reboot, and we're gonna check that. And remember, every time your camera is rebooting, you can just use the software to check. You just refresh here. The camera is not up yet. You don't see it here, right? And remember also that I'm connecting the camera here directly to this PoE switch, so it powers the camera. I can check always here if I have power to the camera. There's an LED to indicate that's powering the camera, another one to indicate traffic of data, right? And here we're back. You see here, I can find here on my software. Let me check again here on the web browser. I need to log in again. 225, here we go, username and password. So I log into the camera again, just wait for it to load, takes a while. Here we go, it's working again, configuration, basic settings or advanced settings. Here in platform, you see offline again. Then I can have this message with offline or the error 0x1007, same thing, it's just a number to indicate this error here. So if you have your network that's not working correctly, you're gonna have this offline message here. So the best thing that you have to do is just use the HCP, then the camera gets an IP, then you assign this IP that was given by the router statically here, so it doesn't change anymore, but don't forget to use the router information here, okay? The first time that you use the HCP, it's also gonna give you the router on your network, right? Now here I have the default gateway, so everything is good to go. And then I'm supposed to have everything working, okay? So let me just save it here. It's going to reboot again. And I'm gonna have now, this time with static IP address, so it doesn't change, because sometimes when just reboot the router, sometimes it gives a different IP, especially if another device is using this IP, the router is going to give another one. And then sometimes you can like just lose your IP because you don't know. The router gave a new one, you don't know which one is using right now. So a better idea is to put here statically, then you always have the same IP. As long as there is no conflict in the network, we are good to go, okay? Once more, you come here, you refresh again. I know I'm doing this over and over again, but it's just to understand that it's the best way to go, okay? Check here when the camera is back. You see here first, and then takes a while to load the web browser because the device is loading the web service inside of the camera, right? Which allows you to see the camera back here, okay? So it takes a little bit longer here, but it works, see? It loads by itself, then you just log in again. And now I should see there online for register status here. It's online for the Hik Connect because now I have the correct IP and it's working. All right, so it's working pretty fine. So other things that you can try as well if it's not working for you is just restart your router, okay? If you did all of this and still not working, you can restart your router and check if it's working. And also you can check here if you are not connected to your camera only locally. What I mean by that is that you have your camera connected to a switch here to this port, and this green cable here is my computer. Let's say I just have this one and this one. I still can have access to my camera, okay? Let me just show you. So let me just unplug this cable here. So I no longer have access to the internet right now. And then let me just unplug this cable as well. This is cable for a different device on my network. So right now I have only two cables, one for the camera, one for my computer. Let's check here on my computer if I still can see the camera. Let me just reload it here. So as you can see, it's still loading. Take some time to load at first and see it's working. moving my hand in front of the camera, still working fine. And I still have the camera working locally only with my switch here. So camera and computer directly connected via this switch, but no access to the internet because I disconnected the cable, right? So let's come here to the configuration, advanced settings here, and the status is online, but in a while it's going to go to the offline. You see, now it's offline. It takes a while. Okay, I had to reload like 10 times here, just waiting because it was just an information here and it was cached and was like online, but in fact it's offline because there is no access to the internet for the camera, right? If you come here to basic settings, you see that everything is correct here. I have the IP address, the router, the DNS as well. Remember also that I need to have the DNS server here. This one is for my network here, for my router, for my internet service provider. But if you don't know what to use, you can use this one. It's a universal one, 8.8.8.8 and 8.8.8, oh, sorry, .4 and .4, okay, for DNS server. Those are universal. Of course, the IP address for your network is different from mine, depending on the network that you have there. For your computer, you can have here a similar as mine or a different, right? But this one is universal. You can use no problem, no matter which network you have here, okay? Then you hit save and you're good to go. It doesn't restart when you just change the DNS here and it's working, right? One more thing that you can do is just test here. When you test the network, you see here that's going to look for IP addresses similar to this one. And the address is not used, right? So it's a good information here that you don't have the same IP address on the network, okay? So you're good to go here, but just remember you need to have access to the internet. So I connect the cable back here to my switch. This cable goes to the router, and as long as the router have access here to the switch, right? The switch has access to the router, and then the camera will reach the internet, and my computer will reach the internet as well, okay? Then if you come back here to platform access, and now it's back online pretty quick because now it has access to the internet, okay? So those are the things that you can check. I know there's a lot of stuff here, but you can check one by one just to make sure everything's working for you, okay? So that's the way you can solve this problem with Hik-Connect disconnected and the error 0x1007. I hope you like this video. Please subscribe to this channel, leave your thumbs up and your comments, and I see you in the next one.